Blog Talk Radio.
King Street, DC Metropolitan News and Real Estate Information. DC News, Real Estate. Mortgaging, lending, home buying, commercial real estate investing, King Street. King Street, your definitive source of news and information concerning DC.
Hello, welcome, listening audience. Great Wednesday. Welcome to King Street. I'm your host, King, where we discuss all news, relevant information concerning real estate investing, particularly in Baltimore City and the DMV, meaning DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. Hope everybody is being safe and practicing the CDC suggested guidelines of staying home, washing your hands, and just practicing the social distancing that they recommend. Now, with that being said, we want to begin the show starting off our gratitude moment. One of the things that we like to say as far as every day, I believe, should start off with what you're grateful for, what do you believe, and start off with a moment of gratitude, I found, has always led me down a path of having a great day. And that's why I begin my conversations, my emails, my texts with great, whatever day of the week it is. So with that being said, here's what I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my ability to see, hear, talk, run, breathe, stand, and have sound mind. I'm grateful for all the love and support from my friends and my family members. I'm grateful for another 24 hours on the day to pursue my goals and my purpose in life. And I'm grateful for the infinite possibilities that today may provide. So with that being said, we're off to another great show. Now, today's show, we're going to focus on why is now still a great time to invest in real estate in Baltimore City. You know, even though we're going through a coronavirus pandemic and we're locked down for pretty much most of the day, it's still a great opportunity. Actually, even more so, because if you're planning to invest in real estate, now's the time. Now, of course, some of the challenges you're going to face with you investing in real estate is going to definitely come down to access to capital and your ability to look at properties, vet properties, and then also make moves as far as making an offer on property. So we're going to discuss some of those ways in today's show. So I want to bring in my co-host who's going to be joining me on the King Street Show, Mr. Andre Smith. How you doing, Mr. Smith?
King, excellent, brother. Excellent. Blessed and highly favored. Glad to be here today, brother.
Absolutely. Glad to hear you. Hope you and your wife and your family are practicing the CDC's recommended guidelines and are safe and healthy.
Oh yeah, man. We're very grateful. Things are well, man. We're learning new vocabularies, social distance, and sheltering in place, and so yeah, man. We're just expanding our vocabulary.
All right, brother. So, what are you grateful for this morning, or this afternoon? We should say.
You know, King, I'm just grateful that we just have an opportunity today to build upon yesterday. It could have been another way. There's people that didn't wake this morning, right? There's people that woke this morning, but because of the ailments in their body, they wasn't able to rise up and they wasn't able to face the sun. And I'm just grateful that, that the Lord kept me, right? And that today there's purpose in today. How do we know there's purpose? Because we're here. And so I'm grateful, today to bring some sunshine to someone.
Absolutely, brother, absolutely. One of the things I was talking about is while now is still a great time to invest in real estate, even though your strategy has to change a little bit because of the fact, as you alluded to, we got to practice social distancing. We have to be in a position where we can't, go out or it's difficult to go out and look at properties, but still move forth with planning your investment strategies, looking for properties online, but then more importantly, having a strategy or a plan for accessing capital. I still believe that the banks are going to be a little tighter going forth. That's my prediction. I hope I'm wrong with that, but I just can't see how the banks are going to continue to offer loans where they can't enforce getting the collections of their money. So that's just my experience and thoughts there. Any thoughts on that you may have?
No, I think you're right, King. I think we've seen this before. We've seen it during the tech bubble burst. We've seen it during the meltdown of the real estate market in 2006 to 2008, depending on who you talk to. And what happened in those markets is there was a cool down period, so lenders had to basically readjust. Guidelines changed. I mean, I think back to the last real estate meltdown. And as a real estate broker, as a practitioner, the way that I put food on the table or had put food on the table for the last 20 years was being able to sell, list, and develop real estate. And so it was a very daunting time when everything was shift. But the reality is we adjusted and we moved forward, and the market got healthy again, and there was buying opportunities even after, when things looked so dismal. And so that's what I'd say about this is, lenders are going to lend, and there's going to be opportunities for purchasers to purchase. But will there be a cool-down period where things will get recalibrated, things would get adjusted, new guidelines will come out for lenders, and it's going to be about risk assessment. So you're absolutely right. I think they'll take on less risk, kind of in the onset of kind of weighing out this epidemic. I think they'll scrutinize a little higher. We're actually starting to see that now on deals that we have on the table. Lenders are coming back and renegotiating the terms, want higher credit scores and maybe more cash in the deal in terms of down payment or equity. And so we're going to see those things. But I also think that it's a great opportunity for real estate now to be able to position yourself to be able to take advantage of this shift in the market, because there will be an increase in inventory, through foreclosures and other assets that will become available. So I absolutely think you're right. It's not going to be business as usual. There's going to be an adjustment. But the investor who is quickly able to pivot, who sees this as an opportunity, not as a demise, will come out this much stronger on the other side.
Absolutely. Now, actually, you bring up a good question that I have, which is, what are you seeing from the lenders now when it comes to processing loans? Are they being a little more stringent with their application process? Are they buyers maybe, in your assessment, getting rejected more now than they would have been in the past? Or is there any significant changes you've seen at all that's maybe hasn't really come down the pike and they're still moving forth with their normal practices at this point?
Yeah, so that's a great question, King. What I would say is this is a fluid situation, meaning that it changes day by day, hour by hour, and even lender by lender, and region by region. Keep in mind that different parts of the country had maybe a less healthy real estate market kind of prior to pandemic. So you have to kind of take all those things in account. But yes, you are seeing lenders in some cases tightening up their guidelines, where you had a buyer who with a 600 credit score or 620 credit score could qualify for an FHA loan 4 weeks ago. But lender by lender, that may be a challenge right now. The lenders that I'm talking to and people in the financial circles are telling me that they think the landing spot is going to be somewhere around 640 to start. And keep in mind that the higher the credit score, the better your ability to negotiate rate and terms of the loan. And so we're just saying what the starting point will be. So think about that. We're shifting from an environment of a 600 or 620 to an environment of a 640. That's substantial. So there's a lot of people who may not qualify with these new terms and new conditions. And I think it's also important, King, to give kind of a full picture, that we're not just looking at this in the vacuum, is there's several parties at the table. So you have your lender, who we would call the originator. So in this case, this could be Bank of America, it could be PNC, it could be, you pick it. It could be any of those companies that provide mortgages. And then we have what's called a secondary market. And so this is what most lenders, most borrowers are not familiar with, the secondary market. And this is a market where you have investors who are buying and selling at any given time. And it's kind of like a stock market in a sense, where they're looking at loans in bundles. And so loans may be several hundred loans that's in what we call a tranche, that's in one tranche. And an investor is looking at purchasing that tranche of loans. So your one individual loan may be one of several loans, maybe even one of hundreds of loans that's in one tranche. And so that secondary market, that secondary investor, it has a risk tolerance. And he's saying, okay, based on this current environment, what is the chances that people may lose their job? Or what is the chances that people's income may change? What is the stability of the market as it relates to, real estate and people's ability to earn a living? And that factors into their decision as to how many of those loans and how much risk they're willing to take on. And people may remember words like toxic loans were words that were being thrown around when the last market correction in 2006 and 2007, where there was a whole lot of loans that were bought on the secondary market, and then once the market conditions shifted, the lenders no longer wanted to back those types of loans, and so they kind of pulled the mat out from underneath of the companies that were originating the loans. And so I say that to say is, in this environment, I do see a shift with the originator, but I think the major shift is going to be, or what we've seen thus far, the major shift has been in the secondary market in investors' willingness to buy certain types of loans that carries a higher risk now with the environment that we're currently dealing with the Corona-19.
Okay. Even when it comes down to again, I know this may just be a guess on your part, or maybe it's not. But just out of curiosity, home buyers even going for the FHA loan, and I know that FHA said that they don't set the criteria; the banks set the credit score, so to speak. You think that still may be a pros or challenge for them in that 640 landing spot as well?
Yeah, so I think you make a great point, King, which is the FHA provides guidelines. And so they're saying that if you were to originate this loan, or you were to give this loan as a bank to a borrower based on these guidelines that we've set forth under HUD, then we will back this loan. And so what FHA does is they become an insurer. So they're telling the lender, because if lenders were only lending the money without any insurance, then they would lend a lot less money because they wanted to protect themselves on the back end. But what the federal government says is, hey, listen, it's okay to go forth and lend and put more loans out into the marketplace, because if this borrower defaults, then we will come in and we will make you whole. So we'll come in with insurance from the federal government and make that lender whole if there's a default. So FHA's role is they produce these guidelines, but it's the lender who actually is going to make a determination who actually gets the funding. And the reason why it works that way is because it's the lender who's on the hook at the end of the day, right? So you may get the insurance, but the servicing of the loan and all the other things that go along with making that loan, taking that loan all the way through, the lender assumes the risk on that. So what you're going to have is the lenders adjusting their risk tolerance. So they're going to make the determination to say, okay, you know what, FHA's guideline says that this person is perfectly qualified for this loan. However, we're going to layer on another condition. That's what lenders call to say, yes, you're approved based on the guidelines, but our additional level of security as a lender is to say we want a 640 credit score. Guidelines might say, okay, you need to be employed on the same job or in the same industry without interruption for the last, say, 18 months. And I'm just pulling stuff out the air here. But the lender may say, well, we feel better with 24 months. So as long as they meet the minimum requirement of the guidelines, then FHA will still insure the loan. But in most cases, the lender are going to put additional conditions on that borrower so that they would feel comfortable if something was to happen as it relates to risk tolerance.
Now, I have a question that was sent to me by one of the Conscious Roundtable members asking about condos. And this question is really buying a condo right now in this particular market, where you may have folks who, and how condos work, where your condo association fee is predicated on how many people, the occupancy, overall occupancy, and then, of course, how many people are actually paying the condo fee. So would you say that you would be a person that should be more careful buying a condo and during this particular pandemic with the uncertainty where things are going right now, or would you say that the risk of buying a condo is the same regardless of where we are right now? It's going to be the same risk, so they shouldn't be less nervous about moving forward on buying a condo right now.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I would say, King, it depends on your investment strategy, as in how long is this a buy and hold scenario? So are you buying this condo and say you're retiring in the next 10 to 12 years and you're going to keep this in your portfolio as retirement income, something that you're going to make a positive cash flow on and then maybe sell when you get closer to retirement? Or is this a buy and flip? So is this something that you want to buy in the next 60 to 90 days, you'll get back on the market? So that would make a difference as to how you might want to proceed. If it's a buy and flip, then yes, you have to be very concerned with the default rate. And what you said is absolutely right. So you're buying into a shared community, and everyone has a responsibility to upkeep the community. So those condo fees that you pay every month covers the expenditures to run and operate the community. So if you have people who are in hardship, who aren't able to pay their condominium fees, then it brings down the revenue or operating budget within the condo association. So therefore, there may be deferred maintenance that may not go on, things that aren't kept up the way it's supposed to. But in addition to that, you alluded to delinquencies that also ties into, again, approvals, right? So depending on what type of financing you're getting, FHA has an approved list. And for you to be on the approved list, the deficiency rates have to be under a certain threshold. So most of it's around 12% or so. So they don't want a default rate over 12% in most cases for lenders to lend to borrowers to buy into the condo association. So those are considerations. If there are some financial issues going on within the condominium, one, you may not be able to purchase because your lender may disqualify that condominium because of the default rate. And then secondly, if it is something that you're purchasing for a buy and hold, it may not be as much of an issue, right? Because 10 to 12 years from now, it may be a totally different situation than it is right now. If you're only going to rent it and bring in income, and you're not concerned about selling it here in the immediate, I would say it wouldn't be as much of a concern. But it's definitely something that when you get your condominium documents, I would pay close attention to. What is that default rate? What are those infrastructure projects that they funded thus far, or ones that haven't been funded because of the default rates? Because that's going to speak to the condition of the property that you're actually buying as it relates to the overall community.
Now, would you pass on a condo if you're going to purchase a condo as a person who's going to live in it with intent, not as a home buyer, but as an investment property that you're going to live in for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then eventually you're going to maybe give to your son or your daughter, let them take over the property, but you find out in doing your research, the condo documents that the association actually is about to file bankruptcy? Would that even though you like everything else about the condo, you like the location, you like the building. Well, with that fact that the association is filing bankruptcy, deter you from moving forth on that particular condo?